Hi everyone, it's Angus Campbell here. It's Saturday the 22nd of June 2024. Okay, following the introduction to what we want to try and do with respect to addressing the poor paintwork on the B25SS, let's crack on and get on with it with the right hand side panel, which we're going to do first. Now, as you can see on screen, what we're trying to emulate here is the flamboyant blue colour that was applied to only one batch of BSA B25SS Gold Star SSs in early 1971, 146 of them. Following that, there were no more batches. All they produced after that were those in the alternative main colour of black and red, which you see most of. And as you can see, I've got a photo here of, firstly, the marketing leaflet at the time, which was of one of the flamboyant blue B25SS, obviously. And also next to that is just a closer up pic of the original tank off this bike, which is in a dreadful state, but we've got it because that proves it was one of this batch of 146. And also there are a couple of areas on it where we can try and emulate the paint finish, which is slightly different to that which has been achieved by this previous restoration that we see now on the bike. Okay, that's the background. Without further ado, let's get on with it. Right, first job then is to get the cover off, which on these is dead easy. Just rotate the Zeus fastener 90 degrees, pops up at the front, and then at the back here, this goes on to rubbers on pins on the frame, so just pull it off for those that don't know. And then just trying to get a bit of a closer look. You can see where I can get the light right. There's just little dimples everywhere in the paint. So it looks like a metallic to me, and it's been lacquered, which is fine. It's not been lacquered very well down the sides. You can see how, I can get it to focus, see how rough the paint is there. Down the back side, yeah, not lacquered at all. I'm just wondering if actually the person that did this did get some paint that was purportedly a match for flamboyant blue, but not the sort of correct process to get that colour, i.e. with the base coat and then the clear, is it candy coat they call it, the clear stuff? I don't know actually. You can see there as well just how rough it is. It might be rusty under here. Yeah, that's better. Right, anyway, we'll get the Zeus fastener off. God, look how rough it is there. We'll get the Zeus off, and then we'll get this into a glute bath and get it stripped. See what horrors are underneath. One subscriber's quite rightly pointed out that looking at the tank in the first video, then it looks as though Bondo has been used, i.e. filler might have been used and not rubbed down properly, or not applied properly. I hope that's not the case. We might find all sorts of horrors in the tank with respect to covering up dents, etc. But it's got to be done, so we'll do it. Anyway, let's get on with this. Just to show you that the Zeus fastener is just pushed in and then held on with this big sort of rubber grommet thing on the other side, and I think that's correct. If you look at the parts book, then it does show you that, but can you also see that it's an earlier style side panel that they're showing here in the parts book, and these were modified for both the B25SS and the B50, sorry, the B25s and the B50 series, if you like. Quite a bit actually, because they were found these were fracturing, so they had to change the mounting point, and as you can see, the profile and everything on it but they got there in the end. Right, this will get off and then in the gloop. Right, we'll leave that side to simmer for a little while. I've got some other jobs and social things to do today, but that can stay in there for a little bit. It'll take a while to break that down. The brush needs it as well, actually, because after I used it on that damn gloop that was on the Bonville rear sprocket, it's as stiff as hell, so that'll do with a bit of a clean down too. Right, back later. This will get it all glooped and all lifted, etc. And then we'll wash it off in warm water, and then any residue we can actually dress it in on the bench grinder wire wheel. Right, back later. Well, over 24 hours later, and it's really struggling. Sorry about the fingers. It's softened it up a bit, not really blistered it, and it comes off with a bit of a scrape through the layers, but we can do better than this. I don't really want to go around or scraping that. I should be able to, you know, it should blister it up, and then you can wash it off, you know, with warm soapy water, hot soapy water, you know, with a brush. So not impressed. It could be a combination of this stuff, you know, not being strong enough, and whatever paint they've used on there. Pretty resistant paint or lacquer anyway. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to nip down to the local home base and get some nitramors. Bloody good old-fashioned caustic stuff, and that should rip the hell out of it. So let's go and grab some of that and apply some of that and see how we get on. We should see results pretty quickly with that, I thought. Well, I've just been down for a run around town, and I can't find any decent paint stripper anywhere. Nobody has got any, and I think that's probably due to the fact that this you know, more caustic stuff now isn't able to be sold through standard outlets. So the only thing I'd find is more of this stuff, which doesn't really work very well. So we're going on to another idea, and that is obviously going back to the old cellulose thinners route, which you can buy. Or failing that, actually, a bloody good stuff there is not necessarily boots, and this isn't a recommendation, but nail polish remover, acetone based. That's bloody good as well. But the first thing we'll do then is we'll get some hot water and probably a washing powder in here, to hot water washing powder, to get all this lot off, and we'll see what we're left with, and then we'll attack it with some solvents. Right, I've cleaned these off with the water and the detergent, and it definitely has been beginning to affect the paint, and the top surface has come off as well, hence why the badges have gone. But there's an awful lot of paint still on there. It's not really blistered very well at all. So I will have a quick go with thinners now, just to see how easily it comes off. But the other good news is I couldn't get any Nitramors, you know, caustic paint stripper at all from retailers now. A lot of them aren't able to sell it because of the caustic nature of the substance, but you can get it online through you know, the big usual online retailer, so there's some of that on the way. But in the meantime, let's just have a play with some thinners. There we go, 5 seconds worth with thinner, and it's coming off. You know, let me just dribble a bit on a corner and show you. Just with a soft brush as well. I don't know where you can see that, but there it is, the top surface is coming off. Sorry, the light's not very good. But yeah, you can see the blue coming off, and there's a grey underneath. I didn't see any evidence of a silver base first, so I think this is more of a metallic than a candy over a silver base. Right, I'll keep working at this. I think the other side's going to be easier because that's not had this lacquer stuff on it. I'll keep working away at it and I'll bring you back. There you go, 10 minutes with thinners, cellulose thinners. Just ripped it right off. So this is the good side, and it's pitted a bit, but nothing serious, and I'm not going to worry too much on this side. We'll just rub that out with emery as best as we can, as long as we don't go through it. But as you probably saw, it's been filled in places, light filler. It's not dented. But what we'll do, and obviously there's been a lot of rot here. I think a lot of that will clean up pretty well with emery. So I'm going to emery that down now, and then I'm going to put some etch primer on, just for now, just to ensure. Obviously it's bloody rainy today, damp and stuff. We don't want this to be covered with a light rust again, so I'll emery it all up and see what it looks like then. And that's not going to take 2 minutes either, really. Bit of rot down there. We might have to do a bit of rust treatment on this, but we've got that. Maybe that's what we'll do. We won't do the etch primer tonight. We'll do the rust treatment on it as first. So I'll rub it with emery and then we'll rust treat it. Right, decision done. Now it's clear what they attempted to do. They've attempted to fill the pits, probably with something like stopper. And actually, it has worked. They just haven't sanded it down enough afterwards, I don't think, really, to get a reasonable finish. So I won't rust treat this side. And we'll just get some etch primer on. I've done a bit of prep on this side. It is a bit pitted. But I'll do a bit more prep on this side and then I'll spray it with etch primer. We'll see what we'll do from there then. With the etch primer, with it being matte, obviously it will mask the sort of finish, but it's got to be better. So we're getting there. Right, a day or two later, so quick spray up with etch primer and let it dry off well. And superficially, well, it's matte. Of course, I said it would look fine, but it's not. If you zoom in, I mean, it won't focus. Oh, there you go, it has focus. Look at it. There's lots of pits, rough as hell. But these are its original. Backside is better. These are its original side panels. This one and the other one. And considering the state of the original tank, you know, it's surprising that these have survived. So what I'm going to do, I do want to try and retain these. So I'm going to get some filler primer because they are pretty superficial. I mean, if I did, I'd probably stick to it and do loads of coats of etch primer and sand down in between. Then we might get there. But yeah, filler primer stroke stopper might give us a good enough, you know, surface. Certainly much better than it was. It's probably much better than it was now, to be honest. But we'll try and get this done properly. So we're going to nip out now and see if I can get some filler primer. And we'll have a go with that and try and build up some layers to get rid of this lot. Right, the weather's warmed up a little, drying out, shucking it down this morning, thunderstorms and God knows what. We've got a bit of blue sky, a little bit of heat and a bit of a breeze for drying. So with a bit of Halford's best, this is not an endorsement. Filler primer, we'll give it a go and see what happens. I'm not optimistic, but we'll try. Right, there's a good thick coat on there, and you know, it does seem to be capable of being applied liberally without it running. Now, obviously, you can still see it. It looks worse on the camera there than it is actually. But you know, reading the instructions carefully and stuff like that, it's just the usual thing that you find with any spraying with multiple applications is let this dry back, where it probably will flatten off a bit in areas, and then sand it down and give it another coat. Well, I mean, that's what you do normally with any primer anyway, but presumably, as I say, this has got some property associated with it, you know, maybe keeping a bit more substance or a bit of a thicker layer anyway, maybe just viscosity or something like that. I don't know really, but anyway, we'll find out. So we'll let that cook. I'm not sure how long it's going to take before it's dry enough to be able to sand. I've given it a good thick coat, so it might take a while, but just leave it alone. First rule of thumb, even if it goes wrong with the run and stuff like that, leave it alone and let it dry and then sort it out. Don't try and sort it out while it's wet. Right, back soon, hopefully. Well, it's about a couple of hours later. The primer filler is well dry, and I've just tentatively started to rub down with 400 or 500 grit, wet and dry. I'm doing it dry at the minute, but I'll need to do it wet really. And we've got quite a bit of work to do, and I think once we've rubbed this down to try and flatten these light pits here, we'll be down to the metal in the higher areas. And but we'll just keep going with primer filler. That's what it's for. And I'll bring you back once we've rubbed this down, got another coat on, and see where we are. Right, early morning, Monday the 17th of June now. Going to be a nice day today. Blue sky. The sun's not quite round the side here yet, but it will come down the side of the house here as it moves from over there across. So it's a good time to get on with this, because it should be quite warm and sunny today. Remarkably, because it's been damn cold. Right, I've just spent only 10-15 minutes rubbing down this filler primer, and well, it's pretty obvious where all the areas are we need to concentrate on, but it's feeling an awful lot better, so I'm quite impressed with that. So we're going to give that another coat of filler primer, but obviously we need to give it plenty of time to dry off, and then we'll rub it down, sorry, wipe it down. I have got some static cloths if I need to use those as well, but I don't think so. We're not going for a, you know, an exceptional finish, because the factory ones weren't. We're just going for a nice finish, but it does need another coat. They'll rub that down, and then we'll get on with the base coat, which is silver. We should get on with this pretty well today. I'm hoping to get it finished. I've got the transfers, etc. So as long as the weather stays warm and the sun keeps shining, these coats should dry pretty quickly. Anyway, let's give that, I don't know, half an hour or so. It's warming up now. There's a bit of a breeze. It's good drying weather. I am using wet and dry, 400 grit, I think. Yeah, but pleased with that. It feels so much better. So it's working. Good. All right, I'll bring you back when I've got the next coat on. Right, I've just given it another coat of filler primer, and while it's wet, you can see a couple of bits that I need to focus on. There we go. So we need to do a bit more there. Looks worse on the video than it is actually, but you can see it's hilly. And there's a little bit more along there, you can just see there. But other than that, not too bad. Now this will dry matte. Oh bloody hell, look. I've put too thick a layer on. Yeah, trying to speed it up. But as I said before, don't try and sort that now. Let's let it dry and we can soon rub that down. We're going to have to rub this side down anyway, but there you go. That's what happens if you're a little bit impatient. Oh, and there's another bit there. It is just there. Where you can't quite see it just there. But anyway, coming on, I'm pleased with it. And we'll soon sort that out. Right, what I'll do is we'll let that dry. It's going to take a little while, and we'll give it another sand with 400 wet and dry wet, and I'll show you that bit before then. Well, we'll have to put another coat on, but that's not a problem. Right, the sun's out, the spraying frame's out, so you know what that means. We're getting close. So giving it another good rub down. Sorry, the light's a bit odd, isn't it, really? Let me just clean the lens. You can see where I've had to rub down. In some places back down to the metal, but it's nice and smooth. This stuff really does give a nice finish actually once it's rubbed down. Sorry about the changes in light, the camera's not handling it very well. I haven't prepped much though on the back side, I'm not too worried about that. We'll give that a coat of filler primer. So now I've finished the last sand, I think I'm happy with it. And we're just waiting for it to dry off in the sun and the breeze. And we'll give it another coat of filler primer, and then we'll get on to the silver base coat. Well, it was all going so well, and there's the base coat on. 1 or 2 layers, well, probably a bit more than that. And I thought it was dry, and I was just replacing or placing it ready to make sure I get a nice even coat of candy coat on the top, and the whole thing just started to sag. See that there? So whether that's me not letting it dry enough, putting on too thick, or it's not adhering to the primer filler, which I think it's what it is. So right, let's just do a bit here, look there. There it goes. So that's probably me putting too thick a coat on too frequently, so rushing it, and I'll never retrieve that. It's disaster down there. I had to try and catch it as well because I nearly dropped it. So back to square one. I'm gonna strip again. That's the only way it's gonna fix that properly. Strip it, start again. Luckily, what came in the post yesterday is the best stuff. Hurrah. Right, I haven't thrown it all over the place and smashed things up, so that's good. Let's get on with it. Right, half an hour later, the old Nitromor's really stripped it off, all those layers, no problem. So back to square one. Not quite. God, it does look bloody rough now. Well, fate's dealt his hand actually, because it's raining outside. What a great summer's day. So we'll get on now. Well, sorry, we've got to let this dry first. Might take it indoors and let it dry. Let it dry well, and then we're back on with, here we go, filler primer. And then what I might do is put some ordinary primer on top of that, and then we'll do the base coat. So you've seen the sort of steps I took before. Filler primer, sand down, 400 grit wet and dry wet, filler primer again, probably again 3 coats of that, and we'll let it dry well before we start messing about with the base coat. Right, I'll get on with it. Right, we're now into the evening on the same day. So we had to suspend proceedings earlier because it was raining. But at that time I did, from the paint perspective, but at the time I did get the Nitromor's working, and it stripped it off. No problem at all, but it also stripped off what the previous owner had used for filler in some quite deep pits. So I've been having to build all that up again, but as you can see, we're nearly there. You can see some areas, there we go, where I've actually, piled in a bit of the filler primer. Still got 1 or 2 little bits to do there like that, although that might rub out. I've got to do another rub down, but
I'm going to let this cure properly overnight before hopefully then we have a final rub down, and then we can get some maybe etch primer or something like that on it before we do the base coat again. So we're nearly back to where we were before I ruined it with the base coat. We're getting there, so we'll let that harden off properly. I'm going to be away for the next 2 or 3 days, so nothing much is going to happen, but that means it can harden off properly and we can get on with it when I get back. Right, today is Monday. Might not see you until Friday. Right everybody, a few days later after a nice break in the Cotswolds, summer has finally arrived, but just as I say that, the sun's gone in, but it's nice and warm, slight breeze. We started this off again 3 or 4 days ago now, so this is well cured, this paint, so we're going to do a pretty vigorous rub down on it. I know you can see big lumps like that, but don't worry about that. That was done deliberately because the Nitromorse stripped out some of the original filler that whoever restored it before had put in, so the pits were even deeper. In one point it's nearly through, but anyway, we're going to plough on with it. And I also noticed as well before that even though we were able to rub this down and get rid of the pits with this filler primer, I noticed in some places it was slightly undulating where there was primer still on it. So I'm going to use a block, a sanding block today, still wet and dry, 400 grit, and we'll give this a good rub down and I'll bring you back. But we've got a great day today, so we should be able to make some progress. Well, as long as I don't bloody mess it up again. Question: why didn't I use the sanding block before? It's so much quicker. You get a good grip on it, you put a bit of weight behind it, and yeah, just a few minutes work. Flattened all this off, and yeah, pretty chuffed with it. Feels absolutely fantastic now. They're just one little low spot just there, I think. So we'll build that up with another coat once this has dried off, another coat of filler primer, and we'll keep doing that and rubbing it back until that's perfectly smooth. God, it's not far off. You can just see it there. Can you see how that's slight little concave area there? It's not bad though. Can hardly feel it. So yeah, another coat on, flatten off, another coat on, flatten off, etc. until we're there. Won't take long, I don't think. And then once we've flattened it off for the final time, there still will probably be bare metal areas. That's fine. We'll give it a coat of etch primer both sides, and then I think we're ready for the silver base coat. But anyway, a cup of tea while this dries off. I say we'll get another coat of filler primer on it. Right, I put another thick coat on, and that's now well dry. It's been a couple of hours out here in the sun. Rough round here, but that's deliberate because I really laid it on pretty thick round there. So we'll rub that down. One or two other little tiny bits. I don't know, you won't be able to see that. There's a little indentation there. There's one. Yeah, you can just see that there. But other than that, looking pretty good. So let's give it a rub down, focusing on those 3 areas. Right, that didn't take very long at all to rub down. I'm really quite pleased with that. It's better than before, actually, better than the first attempt. Found a couple of more little tiny indentations around here, and I had to take it right back, but I think it's good. Yeah, I'm really pleased with that. Right, so now we'll give it a coat of etch primer once it's dry. I've just washed it. It's drying pretty quickly, and we've got the etch primer warming up in the sun, so I'll give it another 5 minutes. Coat of etch primer on both sides, maybe a couple of coats, and then we're on to the silver metallic base coat for the candy. Right, etch priming done on both sides, and this is a damn good bake in the sun. It's lovely and warm, so it's well dry. So let's get on with putting on some what they call base paint, which is a very metallic silver, which is supposed to shine through the candy top coat, the blue candy top coat when we get on to doing that. Now, I'm not going to hang this up and do this because that led to all sorts of problems before, and I want it fairly flat to try and get a nice even surface. And I'm not too bothered about doing the back side of it either, because at the factory the spraying on the back side of the panels, you know, they didn't give a damn about really. I think they probably did do the base coat on the back side. But anyway, we've got to concentrate on the top side, because I haven't got that much base coat left because of the, you know, the moronic problems we had with the first attempt. So let's get maybe a couple of layers of base coat on here, make sure we've got a good cover, and we'll see what we've got left. There we go, look at that sparkle in the sun. It really is quite an interesting paint. When you're spraying it, you know, the overspraying that, it's got, you can see all the little sparkles in it blowing in the wind. Anyway, I've got a good 2 coats covering there, nice and even. And there's a little bit left to do on the back side, but we're not going to do anything like that because we're off to the shops and for a walk. And this is we're just going to leave it to bake in the sun. And it's perfect at the minute where the sun is. Right, a couple of hours later, baked on in the sun. Sun's gone round now, but it's still nice and warm. Bit of a breeze, maybe a little bit too much breeze really. As you can see, I'm going to have to sort out that kitchen roll because I don't want that flapping about too much. Do I give it a go with the blue candy coat? Yeah, I think so. I mean, if the worst comes to the worst, because we've got a good base, and I make a right hash of it, then I'll just put another layer of base coat on, but I'll have to order some more. I've run out. But I've got a light coating on the reverse side of this, so we're okay. Right, I'm not going to film it because you don't want to hear swearing if it goes wrong, or you don't want to be a witness to death and destruction. Right, I'm going to tidy up that kitchen roll so it doesn't flap, and then I'm going to do it. Right, well that's one light coat, and we're getting towards the effect we want actually. We can still see the silver coming through, but in some places I've gone a little bit light, which you might think, and there obviously as well, but you might think, well, that's okay, you can put a bit more on. But look what's happened. The bloody nozzle splattered just as I was finishing. Jesus bloody Christ. And that's the risk with rattle cans. So we're going to leave that, let it all bake off today. I don't know what the hell that is there either, but I'm not going to touch that yet, and we'll pick it off when it's dry. And order some more base coat because I haven't got any, and I think we're going to have to. You won't cover that up with the blue paint. I don't want to. I want the silver sheen to come through. So I think we're doing it right. I mean, just there, this does dry matte, and it brings it all out with the gloss, with the lacquer. Sorry, after we put the side panel transfers on. So we're in the right direction. I'm pleased with that, and we can sort this out. It's just, you know, another bloody delay. But anyway, let's not rush it. And I'll go and get ordering some more base coat now from RS. See you in a few days. Right, next day. So this coat of candy blue is now hardened off. It's all nice and dry. And the frustrating thing is, no, the torch isn't on. Sorry about that. Frustrating thing is that it's exactly the finish that we want. You can't see it very well really because the light and the glare, but you can see the silver base coat through the candy coat, which is what we want. Unfortunately, we've got these bloody, you know, specks of bloody splatter, so I've got to clean the nozzle properly on this can, so we can use it next time. But I haven't got any more base coat, silver base coat, so that's on order from RS Paint. But as I say, difficult to reproduce through the eyes of the video, but it really does look quite nice. And if we offer it up, you know, to a good area of the old original tank, yeah, we're not far off there at all. I'm pretty bloody chuffed with that. Maybe a little lighter, but that's what we want. Fantastic. So paint on order, that's not going to be, it's a Saturday now, it's not going to be until Tuesday. So I'll do a separate sort of conclusion part for that. But for the time being, what I'll do now is we'll cut this video here. You've had enough clips of going backwards and forwards of this lot with this moronic painting. But we're moving in the right direction and we know we can do it. Okay, let's leave it there. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Thanks for any subscriptions and any comments, and I'll see you all again soon. Cheers, bye-bye.